Okay, so this will be a short tutorial on the pipeline workflow for the short film Lost in the Sky. This pipeline can also be applied on any other project, but this is the current pipeline that we're using for our short film. So the pipeline consists of a couple of softwares. First out, we have Kitsu, and that's our project management system. We then have Resilio, that we're using to synchronize all the files between all the computers in the project. We then have a software called XML File Copy, and we use this to copy the files from one location to another or start the Resilio sync from files referenced inside of an XML file. And then we have Prism-Pipeline that we're using as our file management system. And last, we have Fusion, our compositing software. Nuke or Natron also works in this pipeline as Prism-Pipeline has support for it. After Effects doesn't currently have any support, but the plugin might come in the future. So first off, we have Kitsu. So with Kitsu, you can see what shots you have been assigned to. You can see comments or make comments on the shots. You will upload your previews to Kitsu for review, and you can also set the status of the shot, like in progress or waiting for approval or simply done. There's also a handy feature called playlists inside of Kitsu, where you can watch a whole sequence with the latest updates from the previews. So that's a really handy thing to see everything after each other to see if everything consistent and all that. So let's start by diving into Kitsu first. So here is the login page for Kitsu, where you're going to write your email address and then your password. If this is the first time you log in, your password should be default or default password, and you're going to be asked to enter new password on your first login. So next you're going to select the project that you're going to work on. So in this case, it's Lost in the Sky. And now we're inside of Kitsu. The first thing to notice is in the left corner, you're going to see the different kind of projects that you're assigned to. And after that, you have the different kind of pages that you can access inside of Kitsu. So first we have the assets page, and it simply holds all the different kinds of assets needed in this project, but I won't talk that much about that. So the next page is the shots page, and that's the most important page for this project. So here we have all the shots for the short film, or at least for Act 2 and 3 so far. So first you see the sequence name, so A02D02, that's Act 2 and Part 2, but with a D. And then the shot name, so Shot 010. You then have a small description, currently written in Swedish, but it's going to be changed for the shots needed. And last, the frame range, so you know the length of the shot that you're going to work on. Next, we have the different kinds of tasks that can be assigned to different shots. Currently, we have storyboard, layout, and compositing. And compositing is the one that we're going to focus on in this video. So here you can see that I am assigned to this shot together with the director Simon Öster, and the shot is currently work in progress. And if you press this square, you're going to open up the compositing page for this shot. So here you can see the current uploaded preview, and also different kind of comments and information going on with this shot. So let's say that you're done with the shot and you want to upload a preview for a review. So you simply press Attach Preview and browse to wherever you have rendered the shot to, and press Confirm, and then you can write a little comment if you wish for the preview. So fix the glow or whatever. You can now set the status of the shot. So done, retake, to do, waiting for affirmation, or work in progress. So if I think this shot is done, I simply press VFA and post comment. Your shot will now be uploaded to Kitsu and processed and everything, and we'll soon be able to see the update here. So the shot is now uploaded, and you can see our comment and the revision version. You can also toggle the revisions up here in the right corner. So you can see version 1 or version 2. Currently, I uploaded the same version, so they look exactly the same, but you would see the difference here else. If you wish to upload an image to the comment instead of a preview, you need to press this little picture icon next to the post comment button instead. So here you select your wanted image, write your comment, and if you want to change the status, you do that, or else you just leave it to what it's set on. And then press the comment, and your picture will be uploaded. It's also possible to make a little to-do list by pressing the 3 lines here, and you can write small notes for yourself or for someone else, like that, and you can post that comment, and you can check if it's done or not. If you wish to add some to-dos, you can simply edit the comment and go to the last one and press enter, and a new line will be created. So fix colors and whatnot. Last, I want to show you the playlist feature. So to exit the compositing page, you simply press clear current selection on the top right corner. And now you can go to the playlists page. Here you can create a new playlist or select an already created one. So I'm gonna select Act 2 Part 2. And here we have all the shots in the bottom for this playlist. And you can press play, and it will play everything after each other, so you can watch the whole sequence and really get a good feeling on the timing, or if this effects looks good after each other and so on. You can also select different versions that you want to watch. So if you have updated one, you can see that new version in the timeline. If you want to update many of them, you can press this 3 squares stacked on top of each other icon and then select the task type. So that's compositing, and confirm, and it will update all the shots to the latest compositing version. You can also do a split screen where you compare different kinds of tasks with each other. So here we can compare with the storyboard tasks. That's the one without any effects. So we can see before and after. This little square also exists in the shots page. So if we select our shot and go to full screen, you can see we have these 2 squares down here also. Oh, I'm sorry, it's cut off, I saw now. Well, let me just do this. Bam, nice. Sorry for that. This 2 square you have in the bottom here. And you can select which version you want to compare with. But currently it's the same shot, so they look exactly the same. But this is a good way to compare different versions. Also, if you want to highlight something special, you have a little pen tool down here that you can select. And you can paint or whatever you wish to do, and then comment something out about it. So that's everything about Kitsu. So let's continue with Resilio. With Resilio, we use something called selective sync. So you have access to all the files for the project, but you can simply select which ones you want to sync to your computer. So you don't need to download all the terabytes of data, only the shots and plates that you need. That means that you also can remove files from your computer when you don't need them any longer, but they will still have been synced up to our servers already. But if you want to sync a folder and everything within it, you can simply select and sync that folder, and everything will be synced forever within it. And to know what files you need to download for your shots, we're later going to use a software called XML File Copy, but we're going to talk about that later. So everything you're going to place within your Resilio sync folder will also be uploaded to our server, meaning your project will be backed up and all your final renders will automatically start to upload to us when you start to render them. So everything like that just goes automatic here. So let's set up our Resilio folder. So here we have Resilio, and from us you should have gotten a link or a key. If you have gotten the link, you can simply press the link and it will open up Resilio with everything set up for you. If you have gotten the link, you're gonna go to the top left corner, press the plus and enter key or link. So here you're gonna enter the link. This is just gibberish, so it doesn't go to anywhere, so don't try that one. And now you need to enable selective sync. Selective sync simply lets you select what files you want to sync to your computer, so you have access to all the files for the project, but you only download the files needed. So instead of needing terabytes of data, you only download the files that you really need. If you accidentally forget to enable selected sync and a lot of stuff starts to download to your computer, it's important that you disconnect the sync inside of Resilio before deleting the folder. Else, those deleted files will also be deleted everywhere else. And we really don't want that. If it would happen, it is possible for us to get the data back, but it's a little bit of hassle, so it's better to just be really sure that you have selected sync on before proceeding. So after that, you press next and you select where you want to start to sync these files to. So I'm gonna select this folder and select folder. And it will now try and connect to the synchronization. But as this was just a gibberish key, it won't connect to anything. But I have already connected the Lost in the Sky project to this computer. So I'm gonna disconnect the synchronization and I'm gonna delete that one. So here we have my synchronization folder on my computer. So let's go to Edit and XML. Here you have all the acts and parts for the short film. So you're gonna go to Act 3, Part 1. Here you can see a bunch of files with the extension RSLS. This is the Resilio extension, meaning it's just a reference to the file itself. The file. This file is 0 kilobytes, as you can see, so they take no space at all. So if you want to download these files, you can simply double-click them. It will then download and open that file, or you can select one or all, right-click, and then go to sync to this device. Doing that, it will just take a second, and then all the files have downloaded, as these are very small files. Let's say that I don't want these text files any longer on my computer. So I simply select them and delete them with delete or backspace, and I get these RSLS files back. And they are now 0 kilobytes in size, and I've cleaned out a lot of space on my computer. If I would want to delete a file completely from this project, I can right-click and select Remove from all devices. This really removes it from all devices, including our server. So we're really sure that you want to delete this file before pressing this button. If it would happen by accident, just contact me and I will retrieve the file back to where it's supposed to be. It's a little bit hassle, so just be sure before doing anything like that. So that's everything about Resilio, and let's continue. So next up is XML File Copy, and it's a small Python software that has two functionalities. The first functionality is to copy files referenced inside of an XML file to a new location, and the second feature is to start Resilio sync. and that's the one that we're going to use for this project. So within the Lost in the Sky project folder, you're going to have a folder called Softwares. You can start by right-clicking and select Sync to this device. So all the files within will be synced to your computer. We are going to use them all later on in the video, but right now we're going to use the XML File Copy. So to launch, you can simply launch the Python file if you know how to do that, or else I have prepared a launch file for you. If you're on Windows, you're going to double-click the XML File Copy.bat, and if you're on Mac, you're going to select the XML File Copy.command. This simply contains a small script that launches the Python file, and that's it. So I'm going to double-click here. So first we're going to select Resilio selected sync, as we want to sync the files and not copy them. And now we're going to select our XML file. So we go to Edit, XML, and your sequence, and then the shot. So I'm going to select shot 010. We now need to select the path to where the raw files are located. So on my computer, that's in project, and then filmat material, that's recorded materials. And I don't need to go any further as the search subdirs is selected already. The last important part is to check transfer sequenced files, because we have shot on red, so all the R3D files are cut up in 4 GB files. So sometimes there are 2 or more files for the same shot, so it's important that you get all the shots needed. So transfer sequenced files should be checked, and then we're gonna write the extension in this text field. So now we can press check files, and we can see that 3 files have been found. So now we simply press start transfer. These terminal windows might pop up, and that's simply because it's trying to open these files, meaning it will start to download them with Resilio. So if we open up Resilio, you can see that it has started to download the files needed. So we can simply just close these down for now. That's all for XML File Copy. Next, we're going to talk about Prism-Pipeline, our file manager. So Prism-Pipeline downloads all the information about your shots directly from Kitsu, and it takes care of all the file names and file locations. It can automatically update dependencies in your shot. So if you're using an asset, you can easily update all the loaders to the latest renders of that asset. You can also upload your renders directly to Kitsu from within Prism. So let's take a look on how to set it up. Okay, so first we go to prism-pipeline.com and download Prism-Pipeline. So you select which OS you're running, so I'm running Windows. When the downloading is done, you simply launch the installation and install it wherever you want. I'm installing it on my C drive just because it's where it wanted to be installed. So when the installation is done, you can simply launch the setup integration, or you can go to your Prism folder and launch the integration from here. So on your first launch, you don't need to install any DCC integrations, because we're gonna install Prism, then launch Prism settings to see if there's any updates. There is. So we're gonna update Prism, and this is gonna overwrite all our files, meaning we're gonna get the latest versions of the DCC plugins. That's why we didn't install them before, because we're gonna do it anyway. And before running the integration setup, we are gonna add 2 plugins ourselves. So if we go to our Lost in the Sky project folders, and then to software, Prism, plugins, you see we have apps and Fusion. So if you go to the plugins folder in our Prism installation folder, and go to apps, and we have Fusion, so we delete the already existing Fusion plugin, because this one is the later version that does not yet exist in Prism-Pipeline's installation. So we're gonna copy that over, and then we're gonna go back once and go into project managers, and in our software folder, we're gonna copy Kitsu to here. So now we are ready to launch the integrations setup, and then make sure the Fusion is checked. On the right side, you can decide where to install the DCC plugins or files. It's just normal scripts and macros for Fusion. So I'm going to change the default path to actually a place where I have all my Fusion files synced up between computers. So I'm going to install that, and it's installed. We're now going to launch the Prism project browser. And the first launch, we can either choose an existing project or create a new project. But we're going to choose an existing project for Lost in the Sky, and then go to the project, and then under Effector, that's Effects, we're going to make sure that the pipeline folder is synced up. So we're going to right-click and sync to this device, because this pipeline folder contains all the information that Prism is using. And then we're going to select the effects folder itself, and then write your name. So here you can see that some shots is already synced up from Kitsu to Prism, but we're going to set up the Kitsu synchronization now. So you go to Options, Prism Settings, and then under Project Settings, make sure that Kitsu integration is checked. And all this should already be written in because it's saved in this pipeline folder in Lost in the Sky. But what you need to do is go to User and write your Kitsu account username and password. So that's the email address. Oops. Wrong email. And then the password. So we can apply that, and then we can go to Project Settings and press Check Login. And it should say logged in if everything is correct. So now we can press Save, and Prism will restart. And under Options, we now have Kitsu. So you can open Kitsu, that will take you to Lost in the Sky project page. You can, from Kitsu assets to your local computer for the assets and the shots, and the other way around from local assets to Kitsu, local shots to Kitsu, if you create new shots within Prism. So we can start by just checking that we are up to sync. So we're going to sync from Kitsu shots to local. And takes a second, and these shots have been updated. So that's great. So now we are sure that we are running the latest versions. And here we had some shots that does not exist on Kitsu. So for now, we're going to select do nothing. This is a test, so I'm just going to quickly delete this one. Oops, I did wrong because I want to remove from all devices. There we go. Awesome. So we can reload the page and you see it's gone. So let's say that you have been assigned Act 3, Part 1, Scene 20. Here we first create a step, and that's compositing. And it automatically makes the category compositing also. So we can right-click under Files, create new version from preset, and an empty Fusion 16 file. And we just double-click that to launch Fusion. And it will open that newly created comp file. There is one empty background with the size of the Lost in the Sky preferences, but we can delete that one. So let's just make a temp comp really quick. So we go with 10 frames and create a fast noise. Perfect, with some seed rate. So we have motion, awesome. And let's say that we are done with our comp here now. So we want to render it out. Instead of using a saver node, we're going to use a write Prism node. So that's a new node you're going to get from the DCC integration setup. And it defaults to OpenEXR, but you can change to whatever you want. For this, we're going to use QuickTime, and we're going to change to just normal ProRes 422. And under task, you're going to write what kind of render this is. Is it like a daily or a final? So we're going to say final for this, and a comment if you wish. Doesn't matter that much. Instead of browsing for where to save, you simply press refresh. And Prism-Pipeline will automatically check the name of the comp and the versions and everything and save it to the correct location. So that's all you need to do. We can now render this out. Perfect. So let's say that you want to render out a version 2 now. And if we check the name of the file that we just rendered, it's version 1. So now you simply need to press refresh, and it will automatically update to version 2, including in the folders. If we now open up Prism and then refresh tasks, you can now see that we have our final render, version 1, and then our render. So if you want to upload this to Kitsu now, you right-click and then publish to Kitsu. You pick to what task, so compositing, and we want to change the status to say work in progress for this one, and then publish. Prism will freeze while doing this, so even if it says not responding, just wait and you will get this message that it's uploaded. We can then go to Kitsu. Under shots, we go to Act 3, Part 1. We can see that our preview has been uploaded. Back in Fusion, I want to show you one more thing. Up in the top right corner, you see that we have a little menu saying Prism here. And if you open it, you see Save Version, Save Comment, Project Browser, Update Selected Nodes, and Settings. So instead of going to File and Save Version, when using Prism, you're gonna go to Prism and save version from there. It will, like with the render, check the file name and the file path and update all the versions needed. You can also save with comment if you wish to comment something. So this is a comment and a bunch of descriptions. And you can add a little picture to that, say like that, and OK. So back in Prism, if we reload, you can now see that we have our version 1, version 2, and version 3, including the picture and the comment and description. You can see that we have a grade version 1, and that's an autosave that Prism picks up, but it doesn't know exactly where it belongs, so that's why it's grade color, while Fusion has this purple color normally. And last, I want to show you the update selected load nodes, what that does. So if we import our rendered here, and then we quickly make a new version like that. So we are gonna make sure that it's refreshed and it's version 2. And we're gonna render you out. There we go. So now we have a new version here. So instead, say that we have 10 or 20 renders or whatever inside our comp. Instead of needing to update them all, we just go to Prism, update selected load nodes, and it has been updated. So that's a very quick and easy way to also make sure that you are running the latest versions of all renders. So that's everything about Prism. The last thing we're going to talk about is the project setup for our compositing software. So in my case, that's Fusion. In Lost in the Sky, we are using the ACES workflow. We are working in ACES CG, so AP1, and we render out everything as normal ACES AP0. The resolution is 4096 times 1744, and we're running at 25 frames per second. We render out our finals in EXR half floats zips. The dailies as OpenColor.io's output sRGB in ProRes 422. So let's set that up in a comp inside of Fusion. All comps start in Prism. So let's say that we have been assigned Act 3, Part 1, Scene 010. There is already a comp here, but we can create a new category. Just call it Test. And here we can now select Files, right-click under Files, create new version from preset, and Fusion 16, and open that up. So here you are presented with two things. The first one is a frame range mismatch. So that's Prism checking the current frame range in your comp and compare it to the information set for the shot itself. So this one should be 340 frames, while our comp is currently set to 1000 frames. So to fix that, we simply press set shot range in scene. And as you can see, it has now been changed to the correct frame range. The second one is that you see a Prism window has opened, and this is a default behavior from Prism. If you don't want the Prism window to open up when you start Fusion, you can go to Options, Prism Settings, DCC Apps, Fusion, and uncheck Open Prism UI on Startup. So now that window won't open up when you open up Fusion. So I start by deleting the background, and now we're gonna import our needed footage from the XML file. So I use a script called XML to Fusion. You can find that one in, the Lost in the Sky project folder, Softwares, Fusion, and here you have scripts, comp, XML to Fusion. So just install that to your Fusion. It should pop up under scripts here. So we open that up. First, we select the XML file. So that we find under Edit, XML, and then we select the first. It asks where our footage is located. So that's under Filmat material, so that's recorded materials in Swedish. And we want to search subdirectories. It has found everything. So here I just deselect everything because we don't want it to change anything. Here's our import. So we don't need anything, we only just need these loaders. So the first one is the footage from our interior, and the second one is the space capsule that's outside of its window. I'm gonna focus on the interior first. As you can see, this one is 6K, but we want it to be converted to ACES and 4K. So for that, I open up an old comp, can be any comp that you have worked on before. There you go. Here there is a little tree node that I'm always using. So I'm gonna copy that over and we can close the old comp. So let's go through this setup. So first we need to change the red footage to ACES. So by that we select the loader and go to Formats and change the color space to ACES. We then want to enable drag and enhanced blacks as we have recorded on the Dragon sensor and we have got a lot of red noise. So check that. This checkbox only exists in the Color Science version 2. So don't change to version 3. We want to work in version 2 so we can have this checkbox checked. The last thing we need to change is the exposure compensation from 0 to 2. So we crank up that exposure a little bit. And that's everything needed to be done with the R3D file. Next up, we have a gamut node that changes the ACES to ACES CG, as that's the footage we are working on. If your footage don't look correct now, make sure that you are using the OpenColor IO viewer LUT. So if everything's still very dark, make sure that you have that checked on. And it should be set to from ACES CG to output sRGB or whatever your monitor is calibrated to. So next up we have the resize, and that just shrinks it down to the correct resolution. After that we have a transform, and that's if the footage should have been moved from the editor. Sadly, we have to check this manually. So you can open up Prism and there should be a render called Edit. So by dragging the little image down to Fusion, we're gonna import that, but sadly that's gonna import all the edits because all the edits files are located in the same folder, and that's currently how Prism does it. No? There we go. So delete everything except for the reference file that you need. We can now view the crop node. This was by default 50. So as you can see, it has been moved a little bit. And it was moved that much. So now they are close enough. It doesn't need to be pixel perfect, just enough. So we can save that for reference. As we have been working on very dark scenes, the blacks are touching 0, And sometimes we are even living in negative colors, and we don't want that. And that happens when you convert to aces. Sometimes, if you want to know more, just ask me. But how we solve that is I have created a little plugin called Color Analyzer. You can get that one from Reactor. So we pipe in our crop to that node. We can set the frame range to just 10 seconds, and then we're going to search the range. So when the render is done, you can see under min values the lowest value within the shot. And currently that's 0.0005. So I'm going to copy that value. And then I have a toe node here. So that's a macro I have created. It does not yet exist on Reactor, but you can find it in our Lost in the Sky folder, softwares, Fusion, and macros. And there you have the toe macro. So you can install that on your Fusion installation. So in the toe node, I simply paste the lowest values to both toe and black offsets. And that will make sure that nothing is below 0. After that, there is another macro called fix none, and it just makes sure that there is no weird pixels anywhere. And then a neat video denoise node that has been profiled on these interior shots. If you don't have neat video, whatever works fine. And last, a Prism write node that I have set the task to robot conform. So for example, for this capsule, I would have changed the task to say capsule conform or something like that. So after that, I just render this out and make a loader and pipe that into a BC node so I can reference that one with a wireless node. Like however you work is fine. This is just how I do it. So let's say that we have done our comp now and we want to render this out. So before I add a write node, I'm adding a gamut because we want to change from CG to aces. And then we have the write Prism node. That should be open EXR files, and the format should be zip with float 16, and that's the default. So that task name is final. And refresh, we're done. And then we're going to add an open color IO node set from normal aces to output sRGB. And with that, another write node that we change to, where are you, QuickTime, and the format should be just ProRes 422 with the task name daily. So refresh that, and everything's set up. You can also select these nodes and press solo just to make sure that no other write nodes are enabled. Hit render to render that out. This setup, you can just copy paste from another comp or from this comp later on, and just make sure that you press refresh and the name and everything will be fetched from this source, the current comp that you're working on. So that's like a really nice feature from Prism, and that way everything will always be set up correctly. Sure, we can render that out. But there we go. So it's done. And we can now go to Prism, refresh the tasks. It takes a little while. And we see we have our final and we have our daily. So we're going to go to our daily shot, right click and publish to Kitsu. Set that to Compositing and work in progress and publish that. Almost. So now we can right click the scene and open in Kitsu. We're gonna arrive to that comp in the shots tab. We can go to Compositing and we can see that our daily has been uploaded. So that's the whole pipeline from start to finish. If there's any more questions, it's just to ask me and I will help you as quick as I can. So yeah, thank you.